This dinner does mark the end of my one-year presidency of the Forum. I'm so excited about our leadership coming in. True to the mission of this organization, our board represents diverse and often contrasting viewpoints, but we are united in our commitment to host meaningful discussions, welcoming opinions different from our own. How about that? In this past year alone, we have hosted candidate debates for Congress and for mayor, election analysis, legislative previews. After the reversal of Roe v. Wade, opposing viewpoints in the same room. Robust discussions on the futures of West Louisville and downtown. Q&As with the new UFL athletic director, Josh Hurd, and former cabinet secretary, Elaine Chao. I want to thank our board members for their support in making all this possible. If you're a member of our board, please stand. Board members, please stand. Thank you. Now that we know where you are, you're responsible for picking up the questions for the mayor tonight, okay? So board members, please help me out and pick up those questions. If you're thinking about those now, there are pens and papers at each table. Write a question down from the mayor, and then Iris will take care of asking those during our Q&A with him momentarily. Thank you to our prospective board members who are on the ballot this evening for your service. For those of you who are new to the Forum, this organization was founded in 1984, nonpartisan public issues group. We host debates and discussions of contemporary and sometimes controversial public policy issues that affect our greater Louisville community. We may individually disagree on the course of action on these issues, but we do agree it is crucial to remove ourselves from our respective echo chambers to better understand our fellow citizens, and perhaps we'll learn something about our community. Sadly, the environment of the world today encourages us to reject people and opinions before we even have a chance to hear what they have to say. Both on the left and the right, this is the chance where I give my opinion, right? On the left and the right, so-called thought leaders, yes, on social media and mass media, but also in our neighborhoods, dinner tables, pulpits, roll their eyes and outright condemn people whose views don't match their own. So I am thankful for you. I am thankful for this Louisville Forum because we embrace the welcoming of opposing views in a civil atmosphere, and that, in my view, is true civic engagement. So thank you for what you do. Speaking of civic engagement, since 1985, the Forum has presented the Fleur-de-Lis Award to local citizens who have made significant contributions to Louisville throughout their career in professional life and in community service. I do encourage you to check the back of your program for the previous Fleur-de-Lis Award recipients. You will see leaders from business and the arts, media, athletics, medicine and religion, philanthropy, and activism. Tonight, it is my distinct honor, it's really a thrill, to announce and present this high honor to one of our community's finest families. When I was an overnight radio talk show host back in the day, one of the fallbacks, midnight to 5 a.m., by the way, 5 hours every night. I didn't listen to myself, but one of the fallbacks on a slow night, you always depend upon the Associated Press cranking out this date in history about 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, rip that. So some dates are more consequential than others. For instance, July 20th. July 20th, 1969. Anybody? What happened? Moon landing, that's right. Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. 7 years later, did you know, I'll check my AP copy here, July 20th, 1976, Viking 1 became the first American spacecraft to successfully land on Mars and complete its mission. Now fast forward 18 years, July 20th, 1994. The headline in the Courier-Journal, right next to the moon landing anniversary, was the news that the CEO of KFC Corp was out, and in was a 41-year-old PepsiCo executive from Wilton, Connecticut. At the time. We didn't know it then, but July 20th, 1994, when David and Wendy Novak began packing up to move to Louisville, this was a consequential moment, a life-changing moment for our community. David, competitive, generous, committed to recognizing the contributions of his employees, his trajectory in Louisville tracked the success of the corporations that he led. KFC, the North American operations of KFC and Pizza Hut, then Tricon in '97, the CEO of Yum Brands globally. Multi-branding, international growth, increased scale, all while developing talent and setting a new bar for Louisville professionally. And he and Wendy giving back to Louisville, his new hometown, and Wendy, where you grew up. Thank you for bringing David and your family here to Louisville, Wendy. And not just that, of course, they didn't just move here, they made a true investment here. In 1999, David and Wendy establishing the Lift to Life Foundation. Even as David became the co-founder, chairman, and CEO of Yum Brands, he wasn't satisfied in simply running the world's largest restaurant corporation. He and Wendy wanted others to benefit from their blessings. David, you're well known, as you know, for sharing your leadership in books and lectures and podcasts. Let's talk about Wendy. Wendy's leadership demonstrated in the trenches, a lifetime of dealing with type 1 diabetes since she was diagnosed at 7 years old, and making a difference for everyone and empathizing with everyone who deals with that and committing her life to improving their lives. And now the Novak Family commitment to help others dealing with this disease. Since 2013, when the Lift to Life Novak Family Foundation gave $5 million to establish the Wendy Novak Diabetes Center at Norton's Children's Hospital, diabetes research and care in Louisville has seen incredible progress. But the Novaks weren't done. 4 months ago, the Lift to Life Novak Family Foundation, led by Ashley Novak Butler, announced a $15 million gift to Norton Children's Hospital to establish the Wendy Novak Diabetes Institute. Its goal, to become a national center of excellence by expanding and elevating diabetes care services across the region. The gift, a starting point of a $60 million vision to expand diabetes care for children and adults and to build the top diabetes institute in the country. I want to thank those who lead the institute for being here this evening as well. Thank you for what you do. Ashley, Executive Director of the Lift to Life Novak Family Foundation. Ashley Novak Butler develops and manages grant investments with the foundation's strategic nonprofit partners. She oversees marketing and financial investments, grant evaluation. She created the foundation's investment strategy in the key areas of hunger relief, student leadership development, juvenile diabetes, early childhood education, and military family support. Ashley, we're honored that you, Jonathan, thank you for sharing Ashley with all of us. The Jonathan, a fellow board member, are here as well. Thank you for what you do. Novak family, thank you. On behalf of all of us in Louisville, our entire community, thank you for your many and your meaningful contributions to our community and to our world. Your vision, your drive, your decency are reflected in your commitment to leadership, innovation, and generosity. So I am thrilled, on behalf of the membership and the board of the Louisville Forum, to ask you to please come forward and accept the Novak Family's 2023 Fleur-de-Lis Award.
Where do you want to line everybody up?
Well, I'd like to have Joe give me a pep talk every morning when I wake up. Not only does he have an incredible voice, but that was very, very kind. Thank you. On behalf of the Novak family, I want to thank you for this award. It means a lot to us. What I really love about tonight, and when I got the phone call, was that this award is given to my family, because what we are receiving this award for really is a family endeavor. It's one that my parents and my husband, John, and I take very seriously. But I want to take a minute to just recognize that I have two incredible parents who have instilled in me a core belief that every person can make a difference in the life of another person. That is why we chose the name that we did, as fun as it sounds, but Lift to Life Foundation. Its word speaks to our mission. My parents taught me that if you are able to help people with the resources that you have, you should. It is a responsibility and a privilege that you cannot take for granted. I have had the honor of watching my parents put this into action. My dad saw the face of hunger as he traveled the world and created a corporate partnership with the World Food Program, making a difference where he was at that time and place. My mom lived out her generous heart by volunteering at Cabbage Patch Weekly and going and doing those kinds of things and serving on JDRF's board. These things matter when your children watch what you do with your time. So I will say that my parents do not hold tightly to their resources, but they are incredibly generous and kind towards others. And they believe enough in me to give me the opportunity to do something with what they have. So I'm very grateful. And I'm really proud to be their daughter. How could you not? So I hope to continue the legacy that they have created for me with my own children. And I can tell you it's a privilege and honor to do that here in Louisville. One of the greatest well, first of all, I think I have the best job in the world, but one of the greatest joys of my job is that I have had the opportunity to build relationships with nonprofit leaders that are doing incredible things in our community. They are the ones that are making the difference and doing wonderful things. And so tonight, we've invited a lot of our partners here tonight, and I'd like for, if you are a strategic partner of Lift a Life Foundation, please stand up. That means that whole table, this side over here. It's because of the work that these people do in our community and the way they give of themselves and lead their people to accomplish great things that anything changes. And so I just want to recognize this crew because these are some incredible leaders that I'm so proud and honored to have you here tonight to celebrate this award. We wouldn't receive it without you. So I just want to thank you for this. It's a great honor and a privilege, and we will continue working forward to do good things in our community because we can get big things done together. So.
Hi, guys. I'm the person that the Institute is named after. And I have to tell a story. One day, the phone rang at our house, and I picked up the phone, and it was a little boy. And he was with my hairdresser that I go to. And he said he wanted to meet me and shake my hand. So I was very flattered. I don't get these things every day. And we made that happen. So he was darling, and good things like that go on at the Institute every day. So thank you very much.
Okay. Well, obviously, I have a great partner in life, Wendy, and a great daughter, and I have to tell you, the greatest son-in-law God could ever have created. I mean, he's just an amazing man in his own right. I just want to say one thing. There are very few people in my life that I've ever worked with that have tremendous vision and can execute. Have this incredible ability to understand what needs to be done and then work with people to really make it happen. And we have the Wendy Novak Diabetes Institute. It's because Ashley made it happen. She's the one that spent all the time working with Louisville, working with the U of L, working with Norton's, working with Cupper. She was the one that really put this behind. She's the one that's figured out how to make this place really, really tick. We have done a lot of stuff with Dare to Care, and we're so proud of feeding the hungry. And let me tell you something. Ashley served on that board. She's the one that's really looked at all the investments that we needed to do. You know, Ashley knows my passion for leadership development. So she worked with the University of Missouri. We created the Novak Leadership Institute. We have the largest privately funded leadership development program for middle schools and high schools in the country. We've worked with Jan Helson, who's here, who's got Global Game Changers. We want to help her take that to incredible new heights. We have the How Leaders Lead for aspiring leaders. And then, you know, we're just very focused on doing everything we can to make the world a better place by developing better leaders, because what this country needs are people like you in this room. We need more leaders. And, you know, I think if we can just have one of these kids just grow up and be the president of the United States, you know, wouldn't that be great? I mean, that's what we want to have happen, you know, which is great. And you know, we're proud to be American. So, you know, Ashley has really looked into, you know, who we can support, and we do the Folds of Honor, and we're very focused on helping people who've really given it all for our freedom that we have. So, you know, she's the engine behind all of that. And, you know, one of her passions is early childhood education. And, you know, Mayor, you've been working with Ashley on this, and I know you're passionate too. And I think, you know, just seeing your fire, your enthusiasm for the difference that you can make in this community, in this city, I think is really exciting. But we have a little grandson, Luke, and I guess there's been some issues with a facility here in Louisville, and Luke goes, "My mommy's saving that facility," you know, and our foundation is called Lift to Life because we do want to lift the life of others. I just want to make it really clear tonight. You know, I've been blessed. You know, Wendy and I've been blessed. You know, beyond measure. You know, Yum turned out to be something that we could never have anticipated. You know, we've been blessed beyond measure in all the material things that anybody would ever want to have, and we're grateful. But if it wasn't for Ashley and her drive and her commitment to help us do something with our hearts, which we have, I think, okay, you know, we wouldn't be able to make the impact that we're making today. And you know, the good news for us is that we've only just begun. It's a real honor to get this, and but I want everyone to know that the reason why this is happening. I always say, show me a good leader, I'll show you a good business, okay? That I've never, ever seen it ever happen without it. The reason why we're doing so well here is Ashley, what are you, Ashley Novak Butler? Ashley Novak Butler, and I'm proud of this little girl, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for your remarks. And again, I appreciate you being here. We're so blessed for the family as well as for your presence this night for a very memorable evening. I'm so thrilled as well to welcome back an old friend. We have set time aside after the mayor's remarks, again, for your questions. There are slips and pens at each table, so I encourage you to fill those out right now. Mayor Craig Greenberg is here. He was sworn in as Louisville's 51st mayor, January 2nd. Craig is a proud Louisvillian, husband, father, entrepreneur, community leader. He believes in thinking big, working hard, and making things happen. Craig was an attorney before helping launch and lead 21C Museum Hotels, the co-owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling. There will be a demonstration after, as well as his time as service on the U of L Board of Trustees. I've known Craig and his wife, Rachel, for a number of years and feel fortunate to call them friends. They have two sons, Daniel and Benjamin. Please welcome our mayor, Craig Greenberg. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. And a giant special thanks to the entire Novak family, Wendy, David, Ashley, John. Thank you all for what you have done and are doing and will continue to do for our city. You are an inspiration to every one of us here tonight, and I know are an inspiration for the entire city and country with what you do. When you see some of the partner organizations with the Lift the Light Foundation, from Norton to Dare to Care to the ACE Project, just to the park system, these are organizations that are on the front lines of addressing the biggest challenges in our community. And through partnerships with nonprofit organizations like theirs, through foundations like yours, through the private sector and the public sector, I am a firm believer that we can make things happen, get things done. And so thank you all so much for what you all are doing. And I really think that the Novak family's example is just a great example for all of us. It's really what, Joe, you said in your opening remarks, that the Louisville Forum is all about working together in partnership, about having important dialogue with one another, exchanging ideas, and then taking action as a result of that civil exchange of ideas. And that's really what I've been trying to do. It's what I tried to do when I was campaigning for mayor, and now even more importantly, as mayor, since the day after I was elected, is reaching out to everyone across our city, regardless of political party, regardless of where you live in the city, what your background is working together to exchange ideas, identify challenges, and then more importantly, identify solutions and figure out how to make things happen and take action. And so that's what I've done. I've spoken with Senator Rand Paul. I've met with Senator McConnell and his team. I've spent a lot of time meeting and speaking with Governor Beshear. I've had meetings in Frankfort with our Jefferson County delegation from the House and the Senate, Democrats and Republicans. I've had lots of amazing conversation with our 26 partners on the Metro Council, including Councilman Piagentini and Councilman Mulvihill, who are here with us this evening. Meeting with clergy, nonprofit leaders, business leaders across the community, from Desi Hamilton, who opened his first business in the Parkland neighborhood right near where the Harshaws are, in making a significant investment in our community. He opened up Incredible Burgers and Shakes. From entrepreneurs like Desi Hamilton to amazing CEOs like Bruce Broussard at Humana. In every one of these conversations that I've had with elected leaders, with business leaders, with religious leaders, with nonprofit leaders, we all share the same goals. We all want a safer city. We all want a stronger city. We all want a healthier city. So I am convinced, a whopping 5 or 6 weeks into this job, that if we all share the same goals, there is no reason why we can't all work together. And so that is what we're trying to do. We have already made a lot of the announcements about what our plans will be. And over the coming months, the city will start to see those plans take shape and take action. Some of our biggest priorities are making universal pre-K a reality. As David mentioned, Ashley and I have had the opportunity to work on just one small part of that solution. That is going to be a huge public-private partnership. It's going to require national philanthropic money, working with public support locally, with local foundations, with local nonprofits, with JCPS, with the existing private early child care provider network here in Louisville. But we can and must make it happen, because all of us know that the best investment we can make is in our children. And so that is going to be a big goal of our administration. I was thrilled to announce last week, my first State of the City address, that we are creating the first Mayor's Office of Philanthropy, where we are going to focus our first project on making universal pre-K a reality. And so I'm really excited about working on that over the coming weeks and months. Another priority is going to be addressing the homeless crisis that we have in our community and building more affordable housing. Last week, we announced, in partnership with Norton Healthcare, with U of L Health, with the Coalition for the Homeless, that we are going to create a really innovative leading model to provide more service and shelter to those who are experiencing homelessness, as well as make the investments that are necessary in the long-term solution, which is more affordable housing, by creating a Louisville Community Care Campus. And that is something that's going to be really something that we in Louisville can be really proud about how we are tackling this challenging issue. Public safety. This has to be our number one priority, not just today, but every day. We need to make sure that every child, every adult in Louisville feels safe and is safe. Without that foundation, every one of our goals will be nearly impossible to achieve. And so last year, 160 people in Louisville were the victims of homicide. Hundreds more were shot and fortunately survived. Thousands more were impacted as a result of their friend, family member, being the person who was a target of gun violence. And so our administration's top priority is working with anyone who wants to be a part of the solution. Our local police, clergy, nonprofit groups, families of victims, formerly incarcerated individuals, neighborhood leaders, anyone who wants to be a part of the solution has a role in tackling this critical issue. And I am confident that while this is the biggest issue we face as a city, we can also attack it in really innovative ways if we all work together towards this goal. And so that will continue to be our number one priority. And so, and finally, another priority is economic development. We must continue to invest in every part of this community, particularly parts of this community that have been overlooked for our entire lifetime. That means areas inside the Waterson and outside the Waterson. It means we really focus on areas that have been overlooked, like West Louisville, parts of South and Southwest Louisville, to ensure that they have the infrastructure and services that all of us expect in each one of our neighborhoods so that everyone has the exact same hope and opportunity regardless of where you live in Louisville. It's one of the reasons that last week I picked to have my first State of the City address at Americana World Community Center in South Louisville. I thought it was important that not only as mayor, we show that all parts of the city are equally as important, but for people who don't get to South Louisville often, that it was an opportunity for 300 people to see the Beachmont neighborhood, to see this amazing organization, Americana, and what they're doing to support new Americans who come to our city. Because in fact, new Americans, immigrants, are the fastest growing part of our city. And they have challenges that most of us in this room will never have to face, overcoming unique language and legal barriers. And so I was excited to do it there to ensure that Louisville remains a welcoming community, regardless of whether you're born in Burundi, Beachmont, or anywhere in between. So let me just say, before I'm not saying any of my prepared remarks, because I want to get right to questions with this amazing group of inquisitive, smart leaders that we have here tonight, that in my first 5 weeks in office, I have found this job to be the most stimulating, challenging, exciting thing I have ever done. And that is every day of the week, every hour I'm awake. And so thank you all, thank everyone in Louisville for giving me this opportunity. There is a true sense of purpose that I feel when I wake up every day, knowing that I'm working for our neighbors, for our community, for the city that all of us call home. And the opportunity to work with amazing people like David James, Nicole George, Sophie Call from my administration who are here tonight, and the 5,000 other colleagues across Metro government who are doing it for the right reason. I am so excited about this opportunity. I'm excited about where Louisville is now, but I'm more excited about where we can be. So I'll close by what I said last week. Right now, the state of our city is strong. But I know that by working together, tomorrow, the state of our city will be even stronger. Thank you all so much, and I'm happy to take any and all questions that you have.
Go to the far table, please,
Okay.
the far seat. Have Mike will travel. I'm gonna let you hold that one if that's okay. One of the great things about being Louisville Forum president, I get to pretend to still be a journalist like I was, like 7 years ago, before moving on to my current position. By the way, thanks to my boss for being here from Kentucky Electric Cooperatives. He has been very gracious to allow me to take a lot of time to do this position. So thank you, Chris, for doing that. I appreciate it. Let's applaud my boss. I mean, please. All right. So, I love history. You can tell going through newspapers.com and finding the July 20th, all the different ones over the years. But I'm thinking about Louisville Forum archives. And I've gone through all of the different forums over the years. And the topics seem to repeat themselves. How can we compete economically? What about Nashville and Indianapolis and Louisville? What should be done about crime and public safety, homelessness, fixing schools? The issue is, we've been doing this since 1984. The questions kind of remain the same. What difference can a mayor make?
A lot. Even more, I know that even more now than I did 7 weeks ago before I took this office. There is so much that mayors can do. I think it is the greatest job in America. It might be one of the most challenging jobs, but it is the greatest because of the impact that you can make. For example, even before I got elected, Mayor Fisher and I went to, with Governor Beshear, announced a $38 million federal grant that came to our city. It was on my desk when I first took office on the first day about how we are going to invest these federal funds that were geared towards preventing homelessness. We had a lot of flexibility on how we can do that. As a result of that federal grant and our team's decisions, we decided to have a 3-part plan to invest $8 million in immediate assistance now to prevent homelessness, to invest in the community care campus, which I talked about, and to invest $24 million towards the long-term solution of more permanent, affordable housing across our city. This is going to make meaningful difference in people's lives. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a difference. The federal government is investing so much in cities, $388 million through the American Rescue Plan, most of which, nearly all of which has already been allocated by the Metro Council in the previous administration, but which we are investing still today. There's the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, all of which have billions and billions of dollars that are available for cities like Louisville to compete with to make meaningful investments. And so just because the issues might be the same, that should not deter us. We can't let the past impact what we do. And so we are going to leverage those federal funds with local, private, and public dollars to make the Parks for All plan a reality. We're going to have new parks in Louisville. We're going to invest in community development programs so that people who are victims of gun violence can help others that become victims and together work towards preventing it from happening. Last week, we announced $27 million investing in making safer roadways throughout all of Louisville. People don't think about this a lot. It doesn't get talked about as much, but nearly as many people every year die in Louisville and around the country from traffic fatalities as they do from gun violence. So we have to address both of those. When we talk about public safety, we have to focus on making our roads safer for pedestrians, for those who are in cars as well. So I believe that a mayor and city government can make meaningful difference, and that's why I'm so excited about it.
You know, in politics, usually the whole kind of the gamble, not gamble, but the whole calculus is to kind of lower the bar, and that way you can kind of much more easily surpass it. You're setting yourself up here for pretty high expectations.
Well, I've read a few of David Novak's books. I don't recall ever reading about lowering the bar. So
no.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have big goals. If we don't, I mean, part of the reason I ran for mayor is because I felt like our city was becoming complacent. And I want to push all of us to strive for even greater things than we've ever accomplished as a city.
And if I could follow up on the funding situation, most politicians, most elected leaders, executives in cities usually go into the situation saying, we don't have enough, I have to decide between this and this. It seems to me you're in a very unique position in Louisville mayoral history. You're sitting on a hoard of cash the way you just described it, so you can't help but succeed.
Well, there will have to be tough, there will have to be tough decisions because a lot of the money that I mentioned is one-time money. And so when you create new programs or you hire new people, that is recurring revenue. And so right now we're making announcements of using one-time money, but come the end of April when we announce our first budget, there will have to be decisions made when we're talking about permanent funding decisions.
By the way, if you've written your questions down and have not yet had them picked up, you can just raise your hand or put it over your head and our board members will come and pick it up for you. So just make it clear that you have it there. Appreciate that. So you've said, brother, are you still running, or do you have giving up running after?
Oh no, that's the only thing keeping me mentally and physically healthy, I think. And so and in fact, I'm going to run in the Triple Crown, and I figure if this is the 50th anniversary of the mini marathon, and I recently heard that when it first came out, it was called the Mayor's Mini Marathon, and Harvey Sloan ran in the first one. So I figured I have to run in it. So I'm back to training. I'm adding some more miles, and it's a lot more challenging when you put on a couple years. But I'm looking forward to that.
You have said that you're going to be visiting parts both inside and outside the Waterson. At the same time, are there certain parts of the community that need more attention? And can you project for me, just, guesstimate what portion of your time you're going to be spending in the old city limits versus the old Jefferson County?
Well, I'm going to be spending a lot of time everywhere, but I'm not sure that's even the best reflection. To me, the question is, where are we investing the dollars? Where are we working with organizations to make meaningful steps forward? So in West Louisville, for example, are we funding more grocery stores that are so needed? Are we continuing to support other medical facilities in addition to what Norton Healthcare and Humana are doing with their commitments, and Molina Healthcare with what they're doing in the 9 neighborhoods of West Louisville? What else are we doing to encourage other primary care physicians to be located there, dentists, more mental health service providers? What are we doing about the infrastructure needs? How are we partnering with JCPS that when they are building these new schools, that they're community schools, that the fields are available for the neighborhoods to play in, that the libraries or gyms are open late at night or on the weekends? Are we expanding the hours of the community centers that are part of our parks department in parts of our city that haven't been invested in, and where we can really support more youth development program? So that's going to be the key test, I think. And I expect to be held accountable to that. And I'm hopeful that our record shows we made meaningful investments of time and dollars in those areas.
Do you think merger has been a success?
I do. I really do. And I think there's room for improvement. I know there's some discussion in Frankfurt about doing things differently, or changing the way merger is done, or providing pathways for new cities within Jefferson County to be formed. I think the solution of people who are not satisfied with the services that are being provided by our current city government, which I hear loud and clear, to me, the solution is better government, not more government. But I think merger has been a success. And I think there are even more opportunities for us to work with the other small cities in Jefferson County. I'm excited about strengthening the relationship between the city of Louisville and the Jefferson County League of Cities. I'll be meeting with them in a few weeks, and I know Jack Will from that organization is here tonight. We'll be meeting and strengthening the relationship between Louisville and the Kentucky League of Cities. There's a lot we can get done when we work together. I don't think we should go backwards.
Iris Wilberg-Lick is our vice president, and I know that she's been selecting some questions from our membership. Iris.
Sure. We're going to start with an easy one first, or maybe it's easy. What is the biggest surprise after being in office for over a month compared to your perceptions prior to taking office?
Well, I'm not sure what I expected now that I've been in this job 100%. I can tell you one thing that I've been very impressed with, and that is the quality of the people who are currently working in Metro government. Whether it's the other elected officials on Metro Council, some of whom I knew, many of whom I didn't know, and some of whom are newly elected, or whether it's folks in every department from public works to public health. People are working for our city government for the right reason. It's certainly not to get rich. And I am honored to call them my colleague, and I'm excited about the potential that we can do by working together. And so I think every one of us just owes a great debt of gratitude to everyone who is part of the city government team.
Can you share with us some of your strategies or ideas about attracting high-wage jobs to the community?
Sure. There is a lot that we have to do. I think it's a multi-pronged strategy. Some of it is certainly economic development. We need to reach out proactively to every business, large and small, that's located in Louisville and ask, what can we do to help you grow here? What can we do to help you create more good-paying career path jobs in Louisville and not elsewhere? At the same time, we should certainly try to recruit new businesses to be located here. I think the world has changed after the pandemic, and so we shouldn't go after just every big business that's talking about moving, if they're even doing that anymore. I think we should really target that search to industries that there's a unique reason to be in Louisville, where there's no better city in the world to be in than Louisville. And there are several industries like that, whether it's the logistics industry, the bourbon industry, certain parts of the healthcare industry. There's no better, now the battery industry. There's no better place to be than in Louisville. We also need to make Louisville a desired place to be. For many people, it might be more affordable than other big cities, but we have to ensure it's safe. We have to ensure it's clean. We have to ensure it's green. We need to support our arts and cultural organizations that are here. We need to continue to invest in our parks and our libraries. These are all quality of life issues that bring people to a city. And right now, people can choose wherever they want to live. And so we need to make sure Louisville is the best place to live. And then finally, we need to focus on workforce development and education. That's why I'm so focused on universal pre-K, working with other workforce development organizations. Last year, with some of these American Rescue Fund dollars, the Metro Council has made a sizable investment in partnership with the CEOC, which is a healthcare group made up of CEOs from some of the largest and the most important healthcare companies in our city. And together, there's going to be a really innovative workforce development solution to help train the healthcare workforce of tomorrow right here in Louisville.
Before the next question, Iris, one follow-up. I'm just curious about you, for a month now, being in elected office versus a career and a lifetime of working in private industry. Is there anything that you've already identified as saying we can do this differently? Because many people who have been business people who come into politics think they can run it like a business, but they often then find they have to go ahead and deploy the sources that are there right now. How do you balance that out?
Well, one of the things that I'm trying to do is to make decisions quickly, informed decisions, but to make decisions quickly. And one thing I've noticed is that there are, I don't know if this is every government or this has just been my experience, that I think there might have been a tendency that decisions weren't made quickly, or everyone felt like they had to get, consensus around decisions. And I think if you have good information, you've got to keep moving forward. And if you make the wrong decision, you should simply be transparent about it, honest both publicly and privately, talk about what you learned from a decision that might not have worked out and how you're going to do things differently moving forward. But that is one thing that we did in the private sector that I'm trying to continue to do, is to make decisions and start taking action.
And what you say goes. Iris.
Okay, I'm going to combine a couple of items here since they're intertwined. So this will be your first budget. So if you'd like to make any news tonight regarding maybe previewing some of your top budget priorities, but then also if you have concerns about revenue. You mentioned that those ARPA dollars are expended. Are we in a good fiscal situation regarding revenue that's coming in, and then maybe tough decisions on how money will be spent moving forward?
So I'm not going to make any news tonight, but I will tell you, so I already talked about some of my priorities. I mean, my priorities are investing more in affordable housing, public safety, making universal pre-K a reality, economic development, continue to invest in quality of life issues like our parks, like our libraries. To me, those are all very important investments for our city government to make. Yeah, I mean, long term, I would love it if Louisville had some more of its own autonomy to make decisions about the revenue that we can generate. We need to grow as a city, and ultimately, that is the solution to more tax revenues that can fund more things that the government can do along the lines that I'm saying. But right now, in the way that our state and local government is set up, we don't have unlimited options. So we don't have the ability for local sales taxes if we want to implement those ourselves. There are a lot of limitations on what we can do, and so some flexibility would be helpful. But we have to deal with reality, and we'll deal with what we have, and we'll make decisions and make the best possible investments we can.
We do count on our speakers to make news, Mr. Mayor. So I want to try again.
I told you I was going to run in the mini marathon. Is that what it is?
No. So budget aside then, okay, you mentioned before as far as some of the legislation in Frankfurt. And I think you're poised to announce some of your priorities in the legislature. Can you give us a little peek behind the curtain of what you're going to be? What's your top priority when you go to Frankfurt?
Well, I'll talk about two things, both of which relate to public safety. First, we have a part of our public safety challenge is a juvenile justice challenge. We have far too many people in Louisville, far too many kids that are picking up a gun and shooting other kids. That is a tragedy in so many, it's a tragedy for the victims, and it's a tragedy that kids in Louisville, something in their life has led them to a point where they decide to pick up a gun and use it. And so we as a community have to address that. And I believe right now there is definitely a willingness from our General Assembly to address this issue and to help us uniquely here in Louisville to deal with our unique challenges that we have. And so I do support reopening our juvenile facility here in Louisville. I think it should be a partnership of the state and local government. I think locally we should have JCPS reopen the school there. We should be working with nonprofit social service agencies to provide more mental health treatment, more wraparound services to kids who get ensnared in the system, to their families, and most importantly, focus on giving them the help that they need so that they don't spend their life in our justice system. That whatever led them to the situation that they did, that they have hope and opportunity for their future. And so I'm convinced that there's a unique moment in time right now where we can work in partnerships, Democrat and Republicans alike, to really improve our system, to make Louisville a safer city, and to give our kids more hope and opportunity. Another issue that I would love to see Frankfurt address, which I'll have more to say about next week, is on the issue of gun violence. As I mentioned earlier, we had 160 homicides last year. We have far too many kids killing other kids with guns. We have far too many illegal guns on our street that are being used for the wrong reason. Right now, cities across Kentucky are hamstrung in what they can do because of, in my opinion, unique and onerous laws that don't give us the ability to address gun violence and the illegal guns that are on the street. And so I am hoping that our friends in Frankfurt would be willing to work with us on some very narrowly tailored authority to deal with the unique gun violence challenge that we're dealing in Louisville. And we can get into some more details of that next week.
There's some news there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Let's stick with Frankfurt. So I think as recent as today, the Kentucky State Senate has advanced a bill that would codify the personal income tax reduction. Is that an effort that you're supportive of for the state, at least, to get away from relying on personal income taxes? And then you also mentioned local revenue and the inability to utilize sales tax. Would you be supportive of an offset if you were afforded that opportunity to use that as a tool to offset the occupational license tax here in the city?
I'm not sure I totally followed the question, but I am in favor of anything that would give local governments autonomy to make their own decisions about how they tax their citizens and visitors to their citizens for the use to further the goals of their city. To me, that's critically important. I also think it's important that Kentucky remain a very competitive state so that businesses want to continue investing in our state, in our city, to create more good-paying career path jobs. That's key to our future.
You have a follow-up or a clarification?
Yeah, the follow-up. So would you be supportive if you were able to utilize sales tax here in the city to offset the levying of the occupational license tax? So similar to what the state is pursuing, the reduction and eventual elimination of the personal income tax, and they're expanding sales and service taxes.
And that's the first time I've heard about the offset component there. I'd want to think about that more before giving a firm answer.
Another Frankfurt question, are you supportive of the Kentucky House's proposal to eliminate nonpartisan city races statewide?
Should this be a nonpartisan office, the one you hold right now? You're a Democrat,
I think the systems work pretty well.
so you not want to change it at all.
I think that the General Assembly should focus on things that impact the entire state. They should focus on making universal pre-K a reality for all 4-year-olds, as Governor Beshear has proposed. I think they should focus on statewide economic development, statewide issues. I also think they should let large economic engines like the city of Louisville make our own decisions about how we as a community want to govern ourselves, want to invest in ourselves, want to tax ourselves.
IRC, if you go ahead.
Yeah, switching gears, Joe, to some local issues again. So there've been ongoing headlines regarding, development projects, local opposition, whether it's multi-use, affordable housing, you name it, everything in between. What changes are you planning on pursuing regarding land use, development, redevelopment? Sort of what's your attitude about, are we open for business when it comes to development?
When I was CEO of 21C Museum Hotels, I come from the hospitality industry, and we had a saying at 21C, we say yes. We say yes to our guests, we say yes to each other. I want, at the end of my term, for that to clearly be the culture of our city government and of our city. It doesn't mean we always have to agree, but we should be working on win-win solutions. So when someone comes to the city government about an investment they want to make in our community, we should try to figure out a way to get to yes quickly. If there are roadblocks, we should be very clear about what those are, convey those quickly so people can decide how to still move forward with their investment in our community. But we need to make our planning and design process easier. It needs to be quicker. It needs to be hospitable and inviting for local people to invest in our city, as well as people from out of our city or out of our state that want to invest in our city. And so I think we've got some work to do there. But I am really looking forward to working with the private sector, working with public-private partnerships to really facilitate a new era of investment in our community, in downtown, and as I mentioned, across our entire city.
I want to come back, if I could, on public safety. During the campaign, and thanks for coming to the Louisville Forum and being a part of the debate there, we talked at that point saying, hey, can you come back when you name a police chief? Whoever the mayor was, and now you're the mayor. Congratulations. So 2 questions for you. Where are you on the decision? When can we expect that? And secondly, will you pledge that you will bring the police chief to the Louisville Forum and answer questions with that chief?
So on the second question first, because that's short of the answer, is absolutely yes.
All right, that's good.
Definitely will do that. I think as we think about the future of public safety, part of that, I strive to have the best police department in America. What that means to me is the police department that is the most trained, the most trusted by the entire community, and the most transparent. And part of transparency is answering questions, going into groups all across the entire city about having conversations and creating relationships between community leaders, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, members of the clergy, and LMPD. To me, that is what's going to build trust. And so I think it's critically important for that to happen. And so absolutely yes. Right now, we have an amazing woman, Jackie Gwynn Villaroel, who is our interim police chief. She's doing a great job. She's meeting with community organizations across the city right now. I'm sure if you invited her during this time, she would come and say yes as well. Where we are in the search is we put an RFP out to hire a search firm to help lead us through that process, to get some community input and to reach out to candidates and facilitate that process. Those RFPs, I think the deadline was just recently. Those are currently being scored. We'll choose a search firm here in the coming probably week or so, and then we'll announce that search firm and start the process formally.
I can't help but be a former journalist. So you have a search firm. What's your goal to get a police chief actually named as far as a date?
As soon as possible. I think that's critical. I think we need to run a real process that the community expects and deserves, but we also have to move with speed, because after everything our community has been through over the past several years, the community needs certainty in many areas. And one of the things that they deserve certainty on who is the permanent chief of police.
It'll be this year?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'm trying to pin you down. Okay, so, all right. Final question, because I want to respect your time and everyone's time here in the room. We began with my question about, can a mayor make a difference? And I talked about all the different things we've been talking about at the Forum for the last 40 years. Next year, 40th anniversary of the Louisville Forum. Exactly. So let's chop that in half. Let's say 20 years, because you're term limited, right? I'm already going to assume you win re-election. How's that? But that said, what do you want your legacy to be 20 years from now, after those decisions have had a chance to take root and flower?
I'm very focused on long and short-term solutions, because I think you need both. And to really achieve the goals, ultimately, you need to have long-term solutions. I'd say if you're thinking 20 years out, what I hope my administration and my legacy is that JCPS is graduating a class of high school seniors that is the highest performing class academically that JCPS has ever graduated. And part of the reason for that success is because in Louisville, universal pre-K was made a reality for all 3- and 4-year-olds, and that those kids in 20 years are graduating from JCPS with the opportunity to do whatever in the world they want to do because they got their start in education early.
Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the entire Louisville Forum membership, our board, and our guests, thank you for answering our questions. We appreciate that.
Thank you all very much for everything you do.
Before you stand and before we end, I have to always pitch ahead to our next meeting, okay? Wednesday, March 8th, become a member and secure a seat, because our first guest, our first panelist to begin our next membership year to talk about the future of U of L football is head coach Jeff Brom. So become a member now, guarantee a seat. Thank you, Novak family. Thank you, Mayor Greenberg. Thank you all, and good night.